Today, with the help of my 13-year-old daughter, I'd like to talk about how to handle various buckets of IP in a typical asset-style carve-out M&A deal. Although this is generally viewed as one of the more complicated IP transactions, it is actually quite simple if you keep the following structures in mind. Hey Maya, do you want to help me explain IP assets in an M&A transaction?
Sure, sounds pretty easy.
Assume you have a seller which owns as a subsidiary a technology company which it plans to carve out and sell to a prospective buyer. First, the company sells its own assets, which we call company IP, which includes A, registered IP, such as patents, trademarks, and copyrights, and B, technology, which is comprised of the tangible forms of intellectual property, such as trade secrets, designs, know-how, software, and other technology. Next, we look at any seller-owned IP which may need to be transferred into the company as part of the sale. This could be other forms of technology or intellectual property, and we usually refer to this as transferred IP. Next, we look at any seller-owned IP which the seller will retain, usually because seller needs it to continue its business after the sale of the carve-out. This is usually referred to as shared IP or retained IP and is typically licensed to the company or the buyer, sometimes on a transitional basis and sometimes on a perpetual basis, depending on what the IP is. Once we have identified these forms of IP, we can then take the company IP, the transferred IP, and the retained IP and add them up to create the basis for the sufficiency rep, which is the representation stating that the company IP, the transferred IP, and the licensed retained IP constitutes all the intellectual property the company needs to operate the business. And that is a simplified IP structure of a typical carve-out asset-style M&A deal. Hey, thanks for your help, Maya.
No problem, Dad.